Subject matter jurisdiction. Just as the name suggests, jurisdiction over the subject matter. Yeah, no. It's how courts can hear cases, the subject matter of what is being brought forward to court. My goal is to be able to make these complex concepts into simple explanations. At the end of this video, I will include a chart that I prepared while studying for the Illinois bar exam, the uniform bar exam, that helped me digest these topics. I'm a visual learner, and if you're a visual learner, hopefully they can help. They'll be available at the end of the video. Today, I will break down subject matter jurisdiction, which has two main components and then a subcomponent. So it'll be analyzing the federal question, diversity, and then supplemental jurisdiction. Federal question jurisdiction has two main components: a federal something and it be well pleaded in the complaint. What is a federal something? A federal something is what I would like to say something that arises from federal law. So that could be a case involving the U.S. Constitution, one of the amendments. Something involving treaties, tax treaties. Something that just arises from federal law, not state law, but federal law. An example. Here we have a fake case. So I was shopping the other day at the local grocery store. This didn't actually happen, but just for the purposes of this example. And I was inspired to make some pasta, some fettuccine alfredo. So I went to the local grocery store and I started to get all the different ingredients that I needed. Pasta, chicken, the sauce. And I was so excited that I called my mom and I wanted to ensure that I had all the ingredients needed for me to make this. And I was speaking to my mom in Spanish when I came up to the cashier, and he heard me speaking in Spanish and he said, "No, we speak only English in America." So I was like, okay, whatever. Can I just buy this? And then he's like, "No." And he refused to sell me the ingredients. He refused to give me service. So I left the local grocery store very sad, hurt, and also disillusioned because now I was not going to be able to make my fettuccine alfredo, but I knew I had a cause of action. So what happens? I go to the United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida because I'm from Florida. So we have here my case number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So original, I know. So I'm Fabiola, the plaintiff, because I was the one who suffered an injury and I'm trying to seek relief. Plaintiff versus the local grocery store, who is the defendant. So in the intro, I put plaintiff alleges that defendant discriminated against her when the employee refused to sell her groceries because he did not like Latinos, because that's what happened. He heard me speaking in Spanish, decided, oh no, I do not want to sell her the services. So then you have to include in the complaint the jurisdiction, the basis of jurisdiction, which is the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, because the First Amendment says that you have a right to not be discriminated against, race, speech. It's just a long list, which I will get to in another video. So this would be the basis of the U.S. Constitution. Now, suppose I am living in the United States, I'm a U.S. citizen, and the law firm that I work for decides to send me on an assignment for 9 months in Germany. This would mean that I would become an expatriate for those amount of months, and I will have tax liabilities both in the United States and Germany. I'm a tax attorney, so some of these examples will be tax law related. Anyways, while I'm there, I file a tax return, I take a position for my tax equalization that it was going to be something. I get a result back and it's not what I wanted, and then so I decide to file suit. And it's because I'm basing it off a tax treaty between the United States and Germany. So the federal district court can hear the case because an issue with a tax treaty issue arises under a federal something. Another example could be the tax code. Suppose you take a position and in your taxes, let's give an example of 199 Cap A, which was now new with the Tax Jobs and Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Sorry, I always get tongue-tied with that one. Anyways, it's for small businesses for the qualified business income to get a 20% deduction. I claim it and it just isn't processed correctly on my tax returns. Whatever I want to, I bring a case, and it can be heard by a federal district court or a federal court because it is an issue that arises off of the US tax code, which is a federal something. You're getting the sense of it now? So the next component is the well pleaded in the complaint. In my example here, me, the plaintiff, I filed against the local grocery store, the defendant, and I said, oh, in the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the plaintiff has to provide the federal something. I cannot just file a complaint against the defendant and then just hope that the local grocery store in their answer mentions a federal something. Whether it be the U.S. Constitution, a tax treaty, the tax code, anything arising from a federal something. Because that would not satisfy the requirements for federal question jurisdiction. It has to be the plaintiff alleges in the complaint the federal something. Next, we have everyone's favorite diversity jurisdiction as part of subject matter jurisdiction. This one is a three-part equation. It is complete diversity between the claimants, jurisdictional amount in excess of $75,000, and then it must be pled in good faith. I will tackle each of them right now. To understand the first component, complete diversity, you have to understand what diversity delves into. It delves into the domicile of an individual. If you are a person like me, your domicile is where you live and where you intend to reside indefinitely. So what does this mean contextually? It means where your license has been issued, your voting records, where your car insurance is registered, your insurance, if you have a home, your primary residence, where it is, that will determine your domicile. If you are a corporation, your domicile can be in two places. It is where you have been incorporated and where your principal place of business is. And your principal place of business is usually the headquarters, the nerve center where most of the activity happens. And the place of incorporation is where your documents were filed and it said, you are now a corporation. Okay. Now I have selected these states at random. We've already established domicile. So this will be the plaintiff side and this will be the defendant's side. So for the first round, okay, we have a plaintiff from Ohio and a defendant from Florida. Is there complete diversity? Yes. But now we have a person in Florida, so we have a Florida plaintiff and a Florida defendant. Is there complete diversity? No. So we don't even have to pass to the jurisdictional amount for this because it does not pass that threshold. Now, before we call it quits, you ask yourself, is there a federal question issue? You have to check if there is a federal something that the plaintiff is alleging in the complaint and not something, a federal something that the defendant is bringing up in the answer. Next round. Florida versus Puerto Rico. So we have the plaintiff from Florida and the defendant from Puerto Rico. Now I've decided to throw in this curveball because Puerto Rico is not a state, but it is a commonwealth of the United States. Yes, there is complete diversity because they are from different states or commonwealth territories. Now we have Florida plaintiff, Ohio defendant. Is there complete diversity? Yes, different domiciles. A plaintiff from Ohio and a defendant from Ohio. Is there complete diversity? No. So you then go to federal question. If there's no federal question, boom, the federal court cannot hear it. A plaintiff from Alaska, a defendant from Ohio. Is there complete diversity? Yes, they are different. And then finally, for the last round, we have a plaintiff from Alaska and a defendant from Wyoming. Is there complete diversity? Yes. It's also unfair to pin them against each other because both states have beautiful, beautiful nature. The jurisdictional amount of in excess of $75,000 is pretty straightforward, but on the bar exam, they will try to get you with anything. So what does this mean? You're thinking, oh, plaintiff, I'm going to sue defendant for $25,000 in damages. Those are my damages. But I'm thinking, in litigation costs, maybe that'll rack up 10 grand. And then, I don't know, just other fees are going to start adding up. And then they will be more than $75,000. No, that is not how it works. The jurisdictional amount of in excess of $75,000 refers to the amount the plaintiff asked for in damages. Like, that's what they allege. My damages amount to more than $75,000. So it's tricky. It's not $75,000 and more. It's more than $75,000. However, in satisfying the $75,000 or more, you can aggregate values. So if you have more than one claim against, so if me, the plaintiff, has more than one claim against the defendant. Suppose I have an issue with a contract case, but then also a personal injury case, and then malpractice case. So if I add up all those three different damages from all those three different claims, and they're more than $75,000, then I can meet the jurisdictional amount. So does that mean I can just rampantly start adding claims? Well, you can add as many claims against one defendant if it's the same plaintiff against the same defendant, and you're just trying to clump them together, the court will hear them. But if I am, because I'm the plaintiff, if I am suing defendant 1 for the contract case, defendant 2 for the personal injury, and then defendant 3 for the malpractice, that is not going to work. It's one plaintiff versus one defendant, all the claims associated, whether or not they're related, they can be put together. I'm going to repeat that one more time. So, one plaintiff versus one defendant, I can file those three different claims even if they do not arise from the same event. So it could be the contract case, the personal injury case, and then the malpractice case. And if I add those damages all together and they are more than $75,000, then I meet the jurisdictional amount needed for diversity jurisdiction. And we are also assuming that the plaintiff and the defendant are completely diverse from each other in this scenario. Now, I know I said that any claim that one plaintiff against one defendant, but there are some exclusions. And these have to do with divorce, any family law issues, any issues that are state specific. And they tend to be with child custody, anything that states have the police powers in them to do. Finally, the third part of that equation is that it must be pled in good faith. That should be a no-brainer. Bad faith claims, not only are they costly, they're annoying, you can get a bad reputation, you can even end up with sanctions. That is not what you want. Always plead in good faith. Subject matter jurisdiction also has a subculture. It's called supplemental jurisdiction, and it's sometimes, forgotten. It's the forgotten one, but it comes up a lot in questions. So as the name suggests, it is jurisdiction for supplemental claims. supplemental jurisdiction also has its own equation. The claim must arise from a common nucleus of operative fact plus be from the same transaction or occurrence. This means if the claim itself would not have been able to be heard by federal court because it lacks diversity jurisdiction and federal question, it can come in. Now, if this is an issue with diversity, there are some limitations. The plaintiff cannot bring upon a claim through supplemental jurisdiction, only the defendant can. So, plaintiff sues defendant. Defendant brings same claim from same transaction or occurrence against the plaintiff. So, it's swooping in. This works. But the dolphin cannot hop in the same direction. So plaintiff to defendant, no. Now, it sounds like I'm contradicting myself because earlier I said I can aggregate the values. But that's the key point. I said aggregate the values from different claims from one plaintiff against one defendant. In order for the federal court to hear the underlying unrelated claims, it has to be from defendant to plaintiff based on the common nucleus of operative fact and same transaction or occurrence. Because this does not work, but this works. Now with federal question, there's no limitation. It can go this way, it can go this way twice, it could go boom, boom. I don't know, it's a diversity issue. Anyways, that is a subculture of supplemental jurisdiction. As promised, I will now include the chart that I prepared when studying for the bar exam to help tackle the beast of what is subject matter jurisdiction. Good luck studying for the exam. It sucks. And don't forget to subscribe.